Hello, and welcome to a roundtable of our General Secretary candidates for LSESU Elections 2014. I am Sophie from Loose TV, bringing you the election coverage from this year. Hey, and the candidates we have with us today are Sam Barnett, Nona Buckley-Irvine, Lenoy Gee, Jack Kelly, Musty Kamal, and unfortunately Jason Wong and Abby could not make it today. So now I'm going to ask Sam the very first question. Why did you come to the LSE?
I came to the LSE because I got in. I was overjoyed. It was one of the best days of my life when I was accepted into this university. It's an absolutely great university. Every minute I've spent here is fantastic. I've tried to get involved as much as I can, and that's why I want to stay here for another year and do as much as I can for the union that's been my home for 3 years.
Oh, thank you, Sam. Nona?
I actually hated the LSE when I came to the open day in terms of the institution, and it was my lecturer at the time. He gave a talk on death in philosophy and it completely inspired me and I thought it was amazing. So I came here for the course, but I was really scared about the student life. And then I came here and I still found it quite a cold atmosphere, but really got involved in student activities, which made sure that I had the best experience possible.
Brilliant. And Lenoy?
I came here because it's a great university, and also because my course, I'm doing actuarial science. It's one of the best in actuarial science in the UK, so it's great.
Oh, thank you.
For me, LSE represents a lifelong dream. Ever since I moved from the UK to the US, I wanted to come back to the UK, and LSE was that shot at doing so. And as a result, it's brought a lot of change for me, and it's brought a lot of great opportunities for me to invest in the school and in myself. And that's why I'm running for Gen Sec as well.
I mean, apart from all the above reasons, and that LSE is a great institution, the first thing that really inspired me to apply was my dad, actually, because he used to bring me along to all these public events that LSE used to put on, all these great speakers, all these famous people, and that really inspired me to do my best to get here.
Thank you. Second question. What do you think the direction of the LSE should be in the future?
I think the direction of LSE should be away from the current Americanization of things, and what we really need to do is innovate within the British system and generate new ideas and move forward and not try and copy our cousins across the pond. I think that's a crucial mistake that the LSE is making on an institutional level. It's what I've seen on council, and I'm really afraid of it. I'm going to move to work against that.
Hey, thank you. And Musty?
What I'm seeing is that LSE is becoming increasingly commercial, and I really want to stop that. Because right now we have a situation where we're paying more for a cup of coffee on campus than we would in Costa, and our director gets paid more than a banker, £500,000. These things really need to be addressed, and that's why we should pool our money towards more noble causes.
LSE is moving very, very quickly to reform itself. The most important thing is that we make sure that students don't get left behind. The Americanisation, as Jack described it, I'm not supposed to mention Jack.
You're allowed to, yeah.
Okay. The Americanisation as described is something that we can slow down, something we can work on, but it's not something we can stop necessarily. We need to be in the top in the universities in the world, and that might be part of it. We have to slow it down and make sure it doesn't affect students too badly.
Hey, thank you. And Nona?
I think the crucial thing is placing emphasis on students and teaching. Through my work on academic board, the attitude of a lot of academics is that LSE is a research institution only and teaching is secondary. But when the biggest increase in income for the LSE has come from students' tuition fees, we really need to be making sure that we're getting our value for money and they're thinking about us and what they can do for us.
Okay, and finally Lenoy.
I totally agree with Sam, because I think we're moving too fast in academic field. I think we should slow down and give us more time to revise and to look back what we have done. So a reading work kind of thing is a really good idea.
Okay, thank you. Question 3. What do you think LSE's greatest problem is, and how will you solve it? Musty, if we come to you first.
Yeah, I think LSE's biggest problem is what I've just described, that we're taking the focus away from the students. And the most common complaint that I hear when I speak to my friends and people around campus is that there's not much of a university experience. And if you look at my manifesto, all 3 points address this to make more of a community feeling.
Okay, and Sam, what's your response?
The biggest problem on campus at the moment, with the LSE generally, is the division growing between the different kinds of student. International students, we're trying to attract people from a very wealthy background, and home students we're subsidising quite heavily. With a dividing campus like this, we need to make sure that international students, who are a big part of our income, some of them, more of them, are subsidised. We need to make sure that home students and international students are all treated the same way.
Okay, thank you. And Nona?
I think the biggest problem again comes back to the students, and we just have a lack of student focus on campus. We don't have enough student facilities. We've only recently just got the new student centre, but we don't have enough student study spaces. We don't have things like proper music performing rooms, and sports facilities are still located far away from campus. So I think we need to bring student activities to the forefront of the student experience and make sure that we've got the proper facilities for them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is we focus too much on academic, but we kind of the music, sports, art aspect, we ignore them. Or no, we didn't ignore them, but we kind of sorry.
Overlook them?
Sorry?
Would you say we overlook the sports and music at LSE?
I think we should improve our facilities about them, and also as an international student, I think we do need some activities or program to put international students and home students together.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Jack.
I think there's a good consensus here that the community at LSE is disparate and fractured, and I think part of the reason is the SU isn't centralized enough. Not everyone has access to it as easy as everyone else, and what we really need is a way to centralize that. So we've got technology, we've got the possibility to build upon the LSESU app. If we can do that, we can build off of that and make bigger, larger changes based upon that, and we can fight as a university and a community instead of as individual students in groups.
Thank you. Question 4. How would you encourage integration among students? You've all just raised the issue here, especially in the larger societies such as the AU and the media groups. We're going to start first with Nona.
I think firstly it's about breaking down the barriers between different communities. The AU isn't very integrated with the whole SU, and neither is the media group. And I don't think that is their fault. I think it's the fault of the SU because it doesn't promote these things enough and doesn't celebrate things like actual sporting successes, so people perceive it as quite a social, cliquey thing, when really it's not, and it really does focus on sport. And the same with the media group, we need to open it up, especially to BME students looking at the new consultation that they're doing at the moment.
Thank you. Lenoy.
I think I don't really know.
Okay, fair enough. Jack?
I think as president of a club within the AU, there is a certain amount of clickiness to it. However, we can build upon that by, as Nona said, celebrating sporting successes. And I think one way we can do that is communicate successes throughout the school, academic, sporting, anything that students are good at needs to be brought to the limelight and shown. And with an LSESU app, we can really promote that. Everyone can access it every single minute of the day as it happens. And I think that's really what we can build upon.
Okay, thank you.
That's emphasizing.
I mean, I think the question hits the nail on the head. I mean, the student union can be a magnificent platform for smaller societies to make a bigger impact, for bigger societies to put on national level events which get international media attention. I've been speaking to the Malaysia Society and they've been crying out for non-Malaysian members. The Chinese Development Society has 400, a very small proportion of them are non-Chinese. And this is the issue. We need to break down the barriers. And that's what the student union for me is really about.
Okay, thank you. And Sam?
There's been a lot of talk about breaking down barriers. I think the biggest barrier is between home and international students, which is why I want to make sure the international students officer takes a much more active role, arguably a paid role. We look into that to make sure that somebody who's working international causes full-time and working with the current existing SU to integrate. As to the AU, I've been working this year and I hope next year to work with the AU executive, who contain mostly some excellent people to work on the cliquiness that perhaps develops in there. They are social and we want to take some of the social stress away from them, because at the moment people just go to AU events, they feel they have to. They don't need to be there necessarily. The final point on that is that the AU also needs to work on inclusivity, so we need to guarantee that the captains will act against any anti-diverse or racist or sexist or homophobic behaviour within their ranks. We have a pledge for that, we want to make them all sign it.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Question 5. A problem, especially among the first years, is that they don't know who the SABs are. What will you be doing to get your presence known on campus? We'll start with Lenoy.
I'm a first year student, to be honest, and I noticed this because people sent emails to me. I think we should build a network more widely so that the student union can contact every single person in the school on campus. So so everyone can get the same information.
Okay, thank you. And Jack?
Again, I think it's all about centralization. I think we need to have one thing that every student on campus has that they can communicate with the SU by. And I really do think we need to renovate the LSESU app, and it's going to be huge. And by using that, everybody's going to be connected. And with a connected student body, we can build on everything else.
Okay,
I think again the question hits the nail on the head. I mean, there was an undergraduate opinion poll which said that at most a third of students knew who our General Secretary was. And for me that's outrageous. And the way I'd address it is availability. You need to be available for your students. And if that means drop-in sessions whenever students want, or bi-weekly drop-in sessions, then we need to have that. So I would be a fully available GenSec for any society, any AU member, any student.
Okay, Sam?
The idea of a drop-in session is something that we've worked into our manifesto. I want to be drop-ins at least fortnightly in the Students' Union, because the SU should be home, should be the hub for all students at all times. So they'd be there, they'd be regular. They wouldn't just be in the office because it's a little bit intimidating to have to talk in front of people. They would be in the venue or the tons. They'd also be in halls as regularly as we could do them. And of course, for students who don't live in halls, live out, we would need to make sure that they are brought onto campus. They would be on campus as often as possible, so I would keep them in the union where I would be there and open and available for most people for most of the time.
Okay, and finally, Nona.
I think a lot of it comes from the SU actually putting on events. The SU doesn't do many events, and as president of RAG this year, we organised the RAG Band, which was a wristband for Freshers Week, and it was amazing because you got to meet so many freshers, which was such a great part of my job. So that's something that I'd like to continue next year, actually putting on events, actually just meeting students, talking to them normally, just about how their degree is going, and make sure that they feel like I'm an approachable person that they can speak to.
Final question. What is the key takeaway from your manifesto? We'll start with you, Sam.
I think the most important thing in my manifesto is foreign exchanges, because from what I know about the LSE community, it has its problems, but ultimately this place will still be a great university even if I don't manage to succeed with my reforms. So what I think the most important thing is to make us as international as we say we're supposed to be. Craig Calhoun goes all over the world. He goes to Venezuela, he goes to Mexico, he goes to Davos. Why can't we? Why can't we go to China? Why can't we go to Mexico? Students need to be able to go abroad. Students come here from all over the world, but students would get so much from being able to travel overseas. We need to do that, and we need to do it soon.
Thank you. And Nona?
I think the main point for me would be making the Students' Union fully functional for students. I think a question came up about the SU pursuing political goals, and it's done quite well at that. But I feel like there's so many little frustrations that societies and individuals face when they're working with the Students' Union, whether it be payment runs, even getting an email address sorted out, or room booking rights. And those are things that make people's lives so much harder and so much more frustrating. So I want to make sure that students are properly catered for and the SU works for them.
Thank you. Lenoy?
I think my key point is to make the student union a student union for everyone, not only part of the school. The most important problem is that I can see some international students are not enjoying the school, the life in LSE, and I think we should do something to bring them back into our community. We should do more events, bringing like home students and international students together. Yeah.
Thank you. Jack?
I think before we can do any of these things effectively, we have to have a centralized SU that's attached to every single person at the school. And I hate to sound like I'm harping on the same thing over and over again, but I really believe that having an LSE SU app that's been renovated, there is one right now, it's surprising, will actually bring together the entire campus and attach everyone, making the student union the place to be, but also the connector between the institution itself and the students. The GenSec has to be able to negotiate with the school effectively, and we need the student body to be aligned with the GenSec as a result.
Okay, and Musty?
I mean, I agree with all of the above, but I think it misses the key points that students are facing day to day. And for me, that's cost and housing. And I mean, we've had a lot of promises in the previous years from various GenSecs about housing offices and cheaper accommodation, but I've actually spoken to two of the leading estate agents in London to arrange for a student network for specifically LSE, which will allow us first preference in terms of private and student accommodation. So international students who already pay 16,000, domestic students who pay 9,000 won't have to pay more for student accommodation than they otherwise would have to.
Thank you. Thank you all for turning up today. I hope you've had an enjoyable experience and the audience have learned more about you as candidates and people.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. I hope you will be voting in this year's elections.